I'm very happy to welcome everyone who's come to the temple today to listen to introductory teachings on the tenets of basic Buddhism and particularly Vajrayana Buddhism. We all have kind of flourished under the blessings of our teacher Chagdud Tulku Rinpoche, who came here many, many years ago and started to turn the wheel of the Dharma in Brazil. And even though Rinpoche passed away, we don't stop experiencing the blessings of that radiance that we all were able to enjoy. It's a sort of a little bit like solar panels. You know, solar panels suck all the heat and light up during the day, but you get the light all the time, in the day and in the night. So for us, in a way, these great masters that live in our world or share the space with us are like these amazing solar panels. And we can enjoy the blessings even when the sun doesn't seem available to us. It's still the blessings of the intention of such great masters radiates warmth and wisdom for us all the time in our lives. And and I think those of you who have been around for a while can understand my metaphor. But if you haven't ever met solar panels, you might not understand what the real advantage of them is. But for us as practitioners, you always want to soak up the sunshine while you have it, and also then that expression of all the warmth and wisdom that you gain in being under the rays of the sun, you then share and shine in every way for all the other beings at all hours of the day and night. So this morning, I would ask for all of you now as our guests to kind of open your minds and exercise what we call a kind of, we call it equanimity. But what it really is a kind of inclusivity, where one allows the inclusion to include all beings, to include all beings in your moment, that you're not alone, the birds, the fishes, the people who might live on another planet, even your mother-in-law. You might wish she could live on another planet, but all the humans, all the animals, that we include them in our mind, because they are all like us. And this is, again, this equanimity. For us as human beings, we tend to always try to notice what makes us different than everybody else, what makes us unique, what gives us our edge, what gives us our percentage on, winning because we're better, or we run faster, or we jump higher, or we have something that's our special, different trait that gives us an opportunity to stand out and be counted, noticed, not just, a gray blur with everybody else. But the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas and the great masters talk about it differently. And it's interesting and also quite challenging, because the Buddhas, especially Shakyamuni Buddha, he said that every being, no matter who they are, is valuable. Every being has its own life. It's valuable. It might not be valuable to you. It could even seem to you to be a big problem. But to each and every being, as our life is valuable to us, even if you have bad days and you think your life isn't very valuable, you get over it. Or you take medicine because you're not on the right side of things. Your life is valuable. Every breath is valuable. It's precious. It gives you the opportunity to be, especially in this world where, though there are lots of problems, this world is a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure just to be. It's a pleasure. Let alone to breathe. It's a pleasure. Just stop for a little while and you'll realize how delicious that breath is. And so we, as human beings, are very fortunate. But we're not different than every other being. We have better conditions than most other beings. But every being values itself. Even if your only value of yourself is that you don't like yourself, you have the chance to not like yourself in your life, with your life. But basically what motivates every being is that they want to be happy. They just want to be happy. And that's why we think one day is a good day and one day is a bad day. Because maybe we're not happy that day. And we think that we should be happy. Well, every being wants to be happy. No being wants to be unhappy. Only if they think being unhappy is a better option because they can't be happy, they'll just be unhappy, thank you. They still are using the same system of wanting to be happy. And yet, we don't know how to truly be happy. We don't understand, and neither do they. And we understand more than they understand, but they don't have the option. They want to be happy, they don't want to be unhappy, and they are truly valuable in and of their own experience. And so what happens for us as humans, and especially enjoying the light of the Buddhas, what the Buddhas say to us is that every being should be happy, but we just don't know how to make that work. And this is why, out of great love and compassion, the Buddha taught. They taught us how to understand life, how to enact in the life in order to produce happiness, not only for ourselves, but for all beings. So what I'm asking you to do here in this moment is to kind of let down your guard and cast a loving eye and a compassionate eye towards all other beings, and let them be included within your aspiration that all beings could be free of suffering and that all beings could find happiness, both immediate and ultimate. So it's very interesting because, in a way, the Buddha is kind of pointing out that our mind is a little bit small, that we're not really inclusive. You know how it feels if you go to a club that you're not included in. You know how it feels if something happens at church and they start to push you to the side. You know what it's like when you're not treated as important in a moment, in a place, in a time. It's not a surprise, happens all the time. It's one of the things we try to acclimate our children to when they go to school, is that, not everybody will be your friend, but you can be friendly to everyone. We try to teach our children things like that, but they face real challenges Because our mind is actually small, we aren't able to truly understand the great equanimity amongst us, whether we're a human being or we're an animal being. We don't really get that. It doesn't feel like that. And even some traditions exploit that and say, well, you're a human, the rest of the world belongs to you. And that isn't a Buddhist thought at all. The Buddhist thought is that every being wants to be happy, and no being wants to suffer, and that every being values themselves as we do value ourselves. And so the Buddha, going from there, would tend to encourage us to be kind, to have compassion, to understand. They want to be happy, but they don't know how. They aren't able like you are able. The animals aren't able the way that you're able. Like you might not be able to fly in the sky like a peregrine falcon, but that being isn't able to understand this shrinking of his world. He's not able to understand when he eats a piece of poison that someone left out for him. He's not able even to reach certain parts of his body to itch, to scratch an itch. So we think, oh, but they have the bright side. But no, they are so limited. They are in so much trouble trying to be happy when it's not possible for them to produce that. And it's not only the birds or the fishes or the others that we share our world with. We have all the ducks and the chickens and the geese and it's just predation and domestication. They have no option. They have no power. Even if they live in the forest, they have no power. And it's difficult. So compassion has in it a wish that suffering would be less for them. Instead of just ignoring them. Like you do, we all do. I mean, the animals are there all the time. And even when we do really feel like we're very noble towards the animals, most of the time we're simply ignoring them. We can't, and we know there's just not much. What can we really do? Okay, I'm a vegetarian. Okay, I'm trying to do something. But this is where it's challenging because we aren't able to really do much. And that's not even dealing with the lady at work who's just a mala Saint Elsa every day. And how in the world am I I don't even want to think about her. At best, I don't think about her. At worst, I think lots about her very badly. And so the Buddha is really pushing us in a way that's not comfortable because we don't know what to do about the lady at work. And the Buddha's saying, but you should be kind and you should be compassionate, but we don't know what to do about that lady at work. And we don't know what to do to save the fishes and the coral reefs. We don't know what to do to even clean Marginal. We're faced with all these challenges of not really knowing what to do. And the Buddha, so amazing, so amazing. The Buddha said, well, there is a solution to the suffering of beings, not only human beings and animals, any kind of being, anywhere. There's a solution. But it's not the way that you think. Like you're going to, okay, let's, get busy. We're going to do something and change it all for them. No, the Buddha said that's not going to work. Because the reason why we suffer, the reason why we are born, the reason why they are an octopus and not a human, the reason why the woman at work is trying so hard to make your life miserable is because she thinks that's going to work for her. She thinks if she makes you miserable, she's going to be better off. Every being that is not enlightened is always serving themselves. Even when they try to include others in their life, they still bear the burden of thinking that they are the center of the universe. And the Buddha said, this is not a problem of the universe. This is a problem of the mind. And we can change our mind. The mind is changeable. And basically, we only know how to be, we only understand the approach to be social activism, to make exert an influence in the world to change the world. And the Buddha is saying differently, is saying it won't be effective. Although something is better than nothing. You should be good, kind, helpful people. But really to make a difference, you have to change your own mind. By changing your own mind, you have more power. You have more wisdom. You have more qualities. You have more solutions. You have more resilience. You have more unconditional love and compassion to be able to bring to the task where now we're just overwhelmed by the task. And trying to change the world like that isn't going to work. We have to change our mind. There's an example that they use in the classic teachings of, it doesn't work to put leather on the whole world, the whole thorny world, to protect yourself. You put leather on your boots. And then you can make a difference in the world. When you change your mind, your world changes. You experience a different quality of life when you change your own mind. But I'm telling you, I know lots of Buddhists, and they're still trying to change everybody else. Every single day, all day long, they're trying to change everybody else. They haven't accepted just the basic premise that it's your mind that's seeing your world. And Rinpoche, my great master, he always said, it's like looking in a mirror and thinking there's somebody else there. And they're beautiful or they're ugly. Mostly they're ugly. And so we try to wash the mirror. And it never works because what's happening is our face is showing in that mirror. You have to clean your face, comb your hair, brush your teeth. And it's amazing how it changes there. We are not seeing the real world as it's not really the universe's problem. It's not really everybody else doing everything wrong, hurting and harming you, and what are you going to do? How are you going to fix them because you are so helpless to what they do to you? The Buddha said, we are not victims. In Buddhism, there's no victimhood. Because what's happening to us that hurts comes from our own mind. And so therefore, the Buddha, with compassion for all of us, wounded, hurting, limping, sort of crying, trying to change everything else people, could understand, look, apply the same effort. Look at all that effort you apply to try to change everybody else. Use that amount of effort and look back and change your own mind. At first, it seems a little bit uncomfortable because we think, isn't that blaming the victim? I mean, here I am, I've got a problem, and now you're saying it's me? Well, the Buddha's saying, yeah, it's you and it's everybody. You're not the only one, are you? But when it's about me, we feel like we are the only one. We don't even feel like anybody understands us. Why do we have to explain our story again and again and again and again to anybody who will listen? Because we don't think anybody can understand us, because I need to be understood. Blaming the victim. Okay? So, yeah, somebody threw a rock at your head. Somebody did that. You're bleeding. And you're saying, I did that? That's my mind? That's what happened because of my mind? Excuse me, they threw a rock at me. And now you're saying, it's my problem? That's called blaming the victim. I'm the victim. But the Buddha is saying, no, you're not the victim, because there were causes that have come together in such a way because of previous actions of your mind and your thoughts that have left you open to a moment where this could happen. It's not exactly that the guy throwing the rock is the cause. The guy throwing the rock is the result of the cause. And the cause happened within our own mind. This is why it doesn't work to change the mirror. I don't know if we're there yet. It doesn't work to change the mirror. It only works to change your mind, because we don't understand how our own mind works. But it works a little bit like a dream works. If you dream that a guy throws you a rock, who do you blame? And why are you a victim? You dreamt that. Your mind made that. You composed the whole thing. I mean, you didn't really mean to. It just seems to be happening. And the Buddha is saying, yes, there are causes and conditions that are not accidents. And those causes and those conditions produce a moment where something happens and it looks like you are a victim. And in Buddhism, you're not a victim. What happened is your mind happened. Your mind, born. Your mind causes and effects and conditions, actions and reactions. Your mind causing results that we like or we don't like. And how you know that you're dealing with your own ordinary mind is that everything the ordinary mind creates is impermanent. That rock happening on your forehead event had a beginning and a duration and an end. It's an event. Your ordinary mind produces events, and you experience them just like a dream. This is why we don't understand how our mind works. And the Buddha went to great lengths to teach us many, many examples about how the mind works, so we could start to get an understanding of, oh my goodness, I am not a victim. Yeah, I mean, you could say you're a victim of your mind, if you want to say that, if you're attached to being a victim. You know, a lot of people are very attached to being victims because it gives them a position, especially to themselves. They're innocent. They're noble. How something could happen like that is just unreasonable. Gives you a place to blame everything. It's got some kinds of credibility. Only within ignorance does it have credibility. And again, there it sounds like I'm blaming a victim. If you don't understand how your mind works, you don't know what a dream is. And if Tyrannosaurus Rex is chasing you in a dream, it all seems true and real. You only understand when you wake up that it wasn't true and it wasn't real. And you were not a victim of anything but your own mind. So out of the compassion of the Buddha, who is saying, desculpe, por favor, you're not a victim. It's just not understanding the way your mind is working. And that's the same for everybody. They don't understand how their mind is working. This is why compassion is so powerful in Buddhism, because it's the compassion you feel for the ones who bear the ignorance of not knowing their own mind. And that can change. You can know your own mind. You can learn. You don't have to be a victim. And you can not only help yourself, you can also help others know their own mind. So, there's something going on with us. And that smallness of our own mind, even people who listen to the Buddha and try to understand the meaning, are still fighting inside that assumption that they are the center of the universe. And you're not. Every being wants to be happy. They are not different than you. Every being is afraid of suffering, birth, sickness, aging, and death. Every one of them is struggling, not being able to get what they want and not able to prevent what they don't want. We are not unique. But by seeing our problems, we can understand, oh, these are the problems of all unenlightened beings, and much worse than me. So this is, it's challenging for us. And yet it's also kind of exciting, because maybe it doesn't have to be suffering all the time. Not only for me or for others. Maybe there is something that could be done. And if I could do that with my own mind, how amazing is that? And so out of compassion, we start to think, oh, what can I do? How do I do this? How do I include all beings that they could have relief and fulfillment? How do I do that? And then we start to listen to the teachings of the Buddha, because that is what the Buddha's talking about. How to end suffering, not only for you, but for all beings. So it's also very hard to understand, but interesting that within Buddhism, as a practitioner of Buddhist philosophy, as owning the idea that you're a Buddhist, you don't blame others. You know that it isn't because of them that you have a problem. Now that's a lot harder to do than not be a victim. Like there's some sort of, we can kind of go there. I mean, not easily because we're still feeling victims, but it's pleasant. But in activity, it's not blaming. It isn't their fault. They are the result. They are not the cause. It happens, but it is not their fault that it happens. And this means, where goes your object of anger then? Where goes your big disappointment then? Where goes your, right to be angry and picky, judgmental? But these people, me, I'm not only judgmental of the people, I'm judgmental of their mother. What kind of woman raised people like this? So when I'm really judgmental, it's like through the generations. But we have no blame in Buddhism. There's nobody else the fault of what happens to us. And that's very amazing and powerful. When you stop exerting the fault and putting the fault on them all the time, you have a lot of power left to understand the tragedy of their ordinary mind. You can have compassion for their ordinary mind. You're not a victim and it's not their fault, but it's certainly happening. And whatever they do in that moment, why it's not blaming is because the only thing that can happen to you belongs to you. It is your causes and conditions, your activities of ordinary mind, your thoughts, your emotions, your perceptions, your judgments, your actions based on judgments. You threw a rock. For some good reason, you threw a rock. And that rock can only land on the thrower. And the Buddha is saying, don't throw rocks. If you throw rocks, they're going to land on you. Don't throw rocks. It's understandable you may want to throw a rock, and as a little kid, we're going to do something. If somebody throws a rock at me, I'm waiting. Sooner or later, I'm going to do something, or I'm going to say something. That very bad kid. You're not friends with that kid. We don't like that kid. all kinds of reactions, actions, reactions, actions, reactions, based on those causes are from you. And that's why it happens. So the Buddha said, don't harm anyone with your body or your speech or your mind. But I think it's a very big, the Buddha didn't make rules, but that's very big advice. It's hard because there's so many people throwing rocks at me. We don't understand that everything that we think or say or do is not like a rock or a ball or a stick. You just throw it and it rolls out there and that's it. It's a boomerang. Everything you think or say or do is a boomerang. It comes back to the sender. And we don't understand why it hits us in the head. This is the compassion of the Buddha. To say, don't, please don't. If you don't want pain and anguish and suffering, don't do pain and anguish and suffering upon others, because that's what will come back. Instead, do kindness, love, compassion. I mean, it's a little selfish, right? Okay, well, I'm glad somebody told me, is what I thought when I heard this. I thought, how could I get through almost 25 years of my life and nobody told me this boomerang thing? That's a big piece of information. How am I going to get along without that piece of information? I'm still blaming, critical. So it's a challenge for us to understand, not to hurt or harm others, and understand there's nobody to blame for whatever your story is. And I'm so sorry the story can be so difficult. But as difficult as it is for you to not understand how your mind works, that's how difficult it is for all of them. Because everything they see, or say, or think or do is going to happen to them. And you might think, oh, good. I knew that Sogra, she deserves it. It's not good. It's not. Suffering doesn't have to happen. It's so sad. Because in Buddhism, there are no insignificant others. Every being is significant. They are significant in that they long for happiness and are afraid of suffering just like we are. And that every one of them is meaningful. And so your compassion towards them is a noble and appropriate response. Not happiness in their suffering. And that all suffering could end is the goal and aspiration of Buddhism. That every being could be free in the true nature of their mind, beyond the confines of suffering and pain, and be free in their true nature. Because you not only do you have a small mind right now, you have a great mind that you just don't notice yet. That's the whole idea with enlightenment. Enlightenment isn't somewhere else over the rainbow. Enlightenment is the true nature of your mind. If you understood how your mind works, you could reveal the true nature of your own mind and be free. Not only free for yourself, but free for all beings. So this is meant to, this kind of inclusivity has to start somewhere. Like it has to, it's nice, it's big, the idea of, oh, I love and compassion for all beings throughout the limitlessness of time and space, and then coming home and kicking the dog is not really appropriate. So the Buddhist teachings start with our mother. it would be easier if it were the dog. It's, mom has a lot of complication mixed up in there. But your mother is the source of your life. She is it's noble that you received this life, that you have this life, this body, this mind, that you could understand the Dharma, that you could learn, that you could change your own mind. You have a body only because of that woman. Men complain a little bit because they don't get equal billing in this particular teaching. But it took your mother to gestate you. It took your mother to give you birth into this world. It actually took your mother or someone else who behaved in a motherly way to help you survive in this life and understand this world and do your best. We struggle a lot when we aren't able to have enough love and kindness from our mother. But even if you are one of those people who didn't have the luxury of love and kindness from your mother, she still gave you life. And that is the most important thing you've got, is your human life. And with this human life, you can use it to realize how your mind works. But your mother's not really unique. All of us have this person who has done so much for us. And so we start with our mother, like inclusivity and compassion. It's not that we imagine mom is perfect. That's not true. Mom is suffering just like you and me, wanting to be happy, not wanting to know, and not understanding how. Not wanting to be unhappy and making everything worse all the time, with every thought and every word and every action. So we can look at this lady who did so much for us and understand she's in trouble. I mean, if you still have her, because she may have already been taken by death. So the fact that you have this starting place to exercise unconditional kindness, love, compassion with your mom. And it doesn't mean that, suddenly she's going to love you as much as she loves her son. Those things can happen. And it's not going to fix that. But it fixes you. You are the one who benefits by cultivating the qualities of love and compassion and equanimity towards beings. You are the one who conquers your ignorance and confusion and preferencing. You start with your mom, but then you include every other being in the same way. At the grocery store, just like your mom, you start to include kindness, compassion, understanding, love, care. This helps you. This changes you. This is how the Dharma helps you. And by conquering these ordinary, selfish-centered delusions that we have, that we are more important than other people. I mean, even in the grocery store, we're the more important person over the milk. If there's the last milk there, we are the more, okay, not the grocery store, the parking lot. The parking lot. Wars in the parking lot over who's more important. So the Buddha is teaching us, yes, equanimity. To love your mother for her kindness, even though she didn't do everything right. Compassion for her confusion and delusion. Understanding that how difficult it is difficult for her. how to help her, how to care for her, how to love her. And not only her, how that works for you with all beings. And one by one, this band becomes greater. Unto the endlessness of all of time and space, every being is included in the dynamic energy of your mind's qualities of limitless love, compassion, and wisdom, until all of samsara is empty and every being has been placed at the level of complete enlightenment. All by changing your own mind, not by changing others. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice, and all that I will ever attain, this I offer for the welfare of sentient being. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for every being, while their wisdom and compassion increase in this and every future life. May I clearly perceive all experiences to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomena. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether, whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of wishing prayers, whatever kind of omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment, whatever kind of benevolent power, and whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, then similarly I, who come in the same way to benefit being, pray to attain these qualities. At this very moment for the peoples and the nations of the earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. Rather may their moral conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise for them.